Welcome to Spooky Bear, where darkness whispers your name. And today, please enjoy
A Sound of Entropy. It began with a click, a thin metallic pop, and everything shifted. Jonah Weber, 32, software engineer, was standing in his bathroom at 2 a.m. when he realized he could hear the pipes breathe. A low, tortured groan pulsed through the walls, as though the very plumbing shivered with age. He froze, heart thumping, far too vivid, far too personal to be ordinary settling noises. He pressed a palm to the cold tile. His reflection flickered in the mirror, eyes wide. He turned off the light and stepped into the hall. The silence that followed was thicker than any darkness he'd known, and in it he heard another sound, the slow hiss of air sliding around the doorframe, an exhale of entropy. The next days were a revelation and a curse. Jonah discovered his hearing had expanded beyond human limits, but only for sounds of decay, on buildings settling. He heard skyscraper girders contracting at midday, a subterranean chorus of steel complaining under its own weight. Rust on steel. He listened as car frames outside his windows wept oxide into the gutters, the growl of iron surrendering to oxygen, paper aging. He heard the crisp whisper of ancient ledger pages curling celluloid laughter as they degraded. Normal sounds, traffic, conversation, music, were muffled as though filtered through thick layers of cloth, but any process tending toward disorder rang in his skull like a cathedral bell. A neurologist called it hyperacusis. Magnetic resonance scans showed nothing remarkable. "Your ears are fine," she told him. "It's your perception." But Jonah knew better. Something deep in reality had opened. At first he tried to ignore it. Earplugs, white noise machines, even immersion in concerts. Nothing helped. In the subway, he heard the rails rusting, the concrete ballast crumbling, the diesel engines burning themselves into soot. The air in the tunnels tasted of collapse. He left his job. The hum of servers, once comforting, now sounded like the slow unspooling of code into chaos. He moved into a spare bedroom at his sister's house. Each night, he lay awake, hearing, and DNA strands unraveling in every living cell around him, a gentle, wet snap as hydrogen bonds released. The decay of his breakfast toast in the morning, each crumb's starch collapsing into sugar. The hiss of the universe itself cooling, the cosmic microwave background settling into deeper black. He felt the world slipping through an unseen sieve, grains of order leaking away. One evening, he pressed his ear against the living room wall and heard a sound like breathing, wet, gurgling, beyond any pipe or crevice. It pulsed in time with a distant, rhythmic thud. He knocked his knuckles. The noise paused, then restarted at double speed, as though mocking him. He peeled back a section of drywall. Behind it lay empty studs and insulation. Nothing mechanical. He probed deeper, a tangle of wires, a lone nail, the husk of a nest long abandoned. Yet the breathing continued, louder, as if drawn toward him. He stepped back, chest tight. The quiet that followed was like a punch to the gut. Jonah's refuge became the public library, where he thought paper and card catalogues might be gentler. He roamed the stacks, cradling old tomes, but every vellum and cardboard spine sang its own elegy. He felt bones in the bindings crack, glue strands unwind. The quiet turned oppressive, 1,000 soft tiers of cellulose. In the history section, he found a 19th century volume on cosmology. Its pages bubbled as he read theories of the heat death of the universe, the inevitable march to thermodynamic equilibrium. He heard the future, stars cooling into dark embers, galaxies spiraling into silence. The words flickered on the page, as if imprinted in a melting substance. He slammed the book shut. The library lights buzzed and dimmed. He fled. One night, amid his panic, his phone beeped, a text from an unknown number. "Then they come when you listen." He swiped for details, nothing. The battery icon drained before he could react. His phone died. In the pitch darkness, he heard a new sound, pacing. Heavy, precise footfalls, 2 sets, flanking him in the dark. He held his breath. The steps hushed at his right ear, a low, gurgling whisper. Entropy sings, "Will you answer?" He pinched his arms, convinced he'd hallucinated. The footsteps receded into the building's bones. When he switched on his phone torch, the room was empty, his own breathing drowned out by the hum of disintegrating air. Jonah resolved to reverse the process, if only to stop the madness. He scanned the internet for rituals, prayers, scientific cures. Nothing addressed the sound of cosmic decay. In desperation, he resorted to incantations scribbled on torn magazine pages. Invert the spiral. Rebind the strand. He performed them in his living room under a single lamp. The air pulsed with static, the floorboards groaned. He chanted until his voice cracked, the lamp flickered. Then, silence, so absolute it felt like drowning. His ears rang a final note, a pure sine wave of dissolution, and then, unexpectedly, normalcy. The next morning, he heard only alarm clocks and birds. He wept in relief, but the cure was brief. By afternoon, he felt an itch behind his ears. He heard a faint hiss, the curtain rod rusting, the coffee going stale. He pressed his fingers to his temples and closed his eyes, and heard it again, rising like lava from the depths of the planet. A roar. It wasn't thunder, not a storm. It was the sound of all things unwinding at once, atoms unbinding, stars collapsing, time itself fraying into a million threads. His world shrank into his skull. He screamed, but only his thoughts echoed back. As weeks passed, Jonah's mind fractured under the torrent of entropy. He quit human contact, barricading himself in a concrete bunker beneath his apartment. He surrounded himself with fresh batteries and soundproof panels, but the roar found every crack. He dreamed of the cosmos, bright fire swirling into darkness, the event horizon calling his name. He realized the ultimate truth: every pattern, every act of creation was doomed. Civilization, art, love, memory, nothing persisted. His life, once rich with possibility, was a brief spark in the void. And he, alone with his ears, was the witness condemned to hear the universal funeral. On the final night, Jonah unplugged every device and sat in the center of his bunker. The roar raged in crescendo. He closed his eyes and welcomed it. He pressed his palms to his ears, but the sound grew louder, a symphony of collapse. He whispered, "End." And in that moment, all structure dissolved: the bunker, the city above, the planet, the stars, the very laws of physics. Jonah's mind slipped free, untethered. The roar swallowed him, and he became one with the silent entropy he had both dreaded and desired. When the world ended, and it had always been ending, no one heard his echo. No one witnessed the final unraveling. The cosmos continued its slow, inevitable crawl to stillness, and Jonah, at last, was silent. In the vast dark between stars, entropy's hymn forever plays, unending, unmastered, indifferent.
Sleep is a luxury, and you've just run out. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll be waiting for you, if you dare.